Well, it cost taxpayers millions when it went bust. So does the White House have a short memory about Solyndra? Why it's bringing back its green loan program and how much it's going to cost you?
All right, thanks so much, Ainsley.
Sure.
Well, the battle over the Bundy Ranch has now ignited a number of Western lawmakers and a movement to try to strategize on how to get land back from the federal government. They had planned a summit. A number of Western lawmakers had planned a summit before everything unfolded with the Bundy Ranch. And now they said now is the time. These lawmakers are coming together saying, do we know better as states how to run and control our land, or does the federal government? You know,
the bottom line is what this suggests and what actually shows is that the state governments are kind of getting tired of the federal government digging into its own territory and its own states' rights. And so this is a situation where they're saying, look, we want to find a way to not only help the federal government, but also make sure that we're protecting the states and the citizens of that state. So when you see what's happening with the Bundy Ranch situation and the $1 million in grazing rights fees that the Bureau of Land Management is trying to impose upon him, and the whole fight and the furor that's going on, well, they're finally saying, lawmakers are saying enough's enough.
They're saying you are in Washington. You don't know what's happening on our land. We know best. We know how to manage our land better than you do. We know how to grow our economy better than you do. Stay out of our business.
Yeah, and that's what happened in Idaho specifically, saying, look, as an example, our forests and deforestation programs that we have here, the lands that are less likely to catch fire and have wildfires are the ones managed by us. We know the foliage here. We know how to handle our own land. The ones that end up igniting and having issues are the ones run by the federal government. I remember when I was a reporter in Montana, in Helena, Montana, and covering the governor's office there back in 2000, that there was a big land controversy as the Clinton administration was going out, seizing federal lands and in the state of Montana, and Montanans saying, wait a second, this is our land. We as Montanans know better how to manage our land than the federal government.
This has been happening in local governments west of the Mississippi for ages. The Sagebrush Rebellion, it's been going on for a long time.
But what you're talking about, though, is the fact that individual Americans are saying, wait a minute, you know, we live in this country, and it goes back to that song we may have sung when we were in school. This land is your land, this land is my land. And so people want to be respected for being able to help produce their land without the federal government sticking its finger in everything.
Right. How do you feel about this? Do you fear the federal government? There was a recent poll that was taken, and the numbers are going up. Many people are saying, yes, they are scared of Uncle Sam. Look at this. Almost 40% are saying they fear this. They fear the federal government.
37%. Unbelievable. You know, Thomas Jefferson once said that Americans should, the federal government should fear the American people. The American people shouldn't fear its own government. And when that happens, it's time to throw the shackles of government off and create a new one. And here's another poll. Is federal government a threat or is it a protector? And today, 54% of Americans think that the federal government is a threat. And that's up significantly from 46% back in 2000.
And why is that? It's because of the messaging that we're getting from the federal government or representatives of the federal government. When you have senators who can say that people are protesting our domestic terrorists and not call terrorism at Fort Hood what it is and call it workplace violence, you got an issue there. You got a problem. So people are beginning to say, wait a minute, what's going on with my federal government? And I can't trust it any longer.
Or in business, too, right? In businesses who don't know how to properly plan for the next year, the uncertainty in the marketplace. Or is the federal government going to pick winners and losers, as in the case of their green program, like they did with Solyndra? And, of course, we remember the failed programs for the solar programs under Solyndra. And the list went on and on, of course. Well, guess what? Another round of spending is now back. That troubled green loan program, which led huge amounts of money to Solyndra and others, which collapsed and sold off all of their assets, what little assets they had left, is coming back. And what the government was saying is, we never went away, but because of basically hue and outcry over Solyndra, we had a quiet period. That's what they called it, a quiet period, where they were not loaning out money like they did to Solyndra, $527 million.
Yeah, what a bust.
And look at some of the other companies that ended up dealing with this. $527 million to Solyndra. A123 Systems got $142 million. Fisker Automotive, $139 million. $55 million to Abound Solar, $40 to $60 million to Beacon Power, and the list goes on and on.
You know, it's got to be politically motivated. Just this week, you have Tom Steyer, the California businessman, who's saying if we focus on giving money to these types of programs, to like the anti-Keystone pipeline efforts, and we can, anyone who has my same views on climate change, I'm willing to give money to you for your campaign. He's willing to give $50 million of his own money and $50 million of donor money to anyone's campaigns that have his same stance.
Right.
And he's for programs like this.
Well, and that's exactly why Keystone's not going.
Yeah, and one of the problems with that, Clayton and Ainsley, is that Tom Steyer apparently talked to the president. This is being reported that he spoke to the president and said, I want you to reject the Keystone pipeline.
Right.
And so now people are wondering, is that possible? Could one man have that much sway?
Not even just
over
one
the White
man.
House?
A number, 10 or 12 billionaires that are the huge base of his party, the huge donors that said, if you back the Keystone pipeline, we will absolutely pull up our money and not support any future campaigns.
Exactly.
So let us know what you think about that. Friends at foxnews.com. Are you excited that another round of Solyndra programs are coming back?
They're back in business.